Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my special stream. If you are joining us from Facebook or YouTube, I have figured out the multi-stream chat, so I will be able to respond to your questions and get back to you from there. We have an amazing stream today. So if you are one of my watchers that enjoy watching the games and stuff like that, today's not that way. Today we do an update on things and we talk about a few different things and we'll go over that. So yeah, this is a shorter stream. It's not a game stream this time. So catch us on Monday. We'll keep up with that. What we've got going on today is pretty cool. We're going to do an update on the NaNoWriMo Progress, which is still what we're going to call it. We're still going to call it NaNoWriMo. And we're going to, this is pretty cool. We're going to create an account on Inner Sanctum. And I'm going to show you guys how to go from the very start of nothing, right? You want to join, but you don't know how, you don't know what's involved. And then there's all these settings and so on and so on. It just gets overwhelming. We're going to quickly go through how to do that, how to set it up. I got all the permissions needed from the staff. They're absolutely amazing. And once we do that, we'll go through and show how that's done. And then finally, we have an absolute epic moment where we're going to interview live on stream SashaMayrin, who is a writer, an artist, an author. She's absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait for you guys to see how that goes so that you can see just how much goes into this writing and what's involved in it and so forth. It's going to be pretty cool, so stick with us. Before we get everything started, I wanted to answer a few questions that have come my direction about some other stuff, right? Last time we answered some questions about Inner Sanctum. This time we're going to address a couple of questions that I've gotten personally, and we'll go from there. So why am I not an affiliate? Why haven't I taken the affiliate so far? And the easiest way to answer that to you is, why would I? Right? I am a small streamer. I'm small. Like, let's be real here. Small doesn't even begin to cut it. I'm not doing this for profit. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for donations. I'm doing this because it's entertaining, it's fun, and I want to share these experiences with the audience. If I became an affiliate, the first thing I would lose is the ability to multi-stream across multiple platforms. Why do I multi-stream across multiple platforms? Because I don't know which platform is the best, right? I just don't know. And I want to share my experiences with others. And the next thing I would lose is I would lose the ability to broadcast to you guys without interruptions. Like, seriously, it would just fill my stream with commercials and ads and all kinds of nonsense. And who wants to sit through that? Seriously, who wants to sit through it? Will I eventually go in that direction? Maybe, right? Maybe. It's just not something that I'm racing towards right now. So maybe eventually that is something that I would gun towards. But for now, let's just keep going the way things are. I'm having fun with it. All right. The next question is multi-streaming. I've been told not to do it. Right? Don't do it. It makes you look desperate. It makes you look like you want multiple people to watch you and that you're desperate for attention and all this other stuff. Maybe they're right if okay, so maybe they're right if they want. Hold on just a minute. I'll be right back. My wife is stuck outside. One sec. Okay, so maybe I would not multi-stream if I had a solid fan base somewhere. But for right now, I'm not even trying to make money. So I'm just sharing my experience. There's no desperation here. I have no unrealistic goals. I'm not striving to become internet famous. I'm not striving to gain hundreds of views. So please, please just calm down and have fun with the stream. I'm not trying to be something I'm not, right? Leave that to XQC and all these other guys that are epic, right? Nux, Taku, and stuff like that. They're epic. Leave that to them. For me, let's just have some fun. All right. So, yeah. So let's jump into this. Whew, I'm out of breath because I ran to get the door for my wife. Don't smoke. It makes you out of breath. But do drink coffee. The first thing we're going to talk about, we'll bring up our desktop here. Hold on. All right. Let me bring this down real quick. The first thing we're going to talk about is NaNoWriMo, right? Or Nano. In this, we have Whispers of a Killer, which is the project I've been working on. I did catch up. I'm at 35,268 words. The story has been pretty freaking cool, man. It's been really cool. So, hold on. Let me do it like this so that we don't have 50,000 screens. Oops. There we go. All right. So the story's been really cool. It's where I've gotten from where I started is much better. I'm writing much faster. It's flowing more easily. Overall, I think that the story has just kind of taken on a feeling of its own, right? Like the main character has done his second kill. He did some really creepy shit, and you know, the second protagonist has kind of caught on to all of that, and now she's starting to get super suspicious. Like, what the hell's going on with this guy? Something's just not right. It's one thing for him to have these, you know, OCD behaviors and these OCD kind of issues, but what's really going on with all of this stuff, right? Like, why is he being so weird? So I don't know if I'm going to take her in a direction where she thinks he's cheating on her, or if I'm going to take her in a direction where she's kind of uncovering the fact that he's a killer of some kind, right? But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. There's not a whole lot else to discuss here with NaNoWriMo. A lot of people are finishing up their work. Like, I'm compared to most people, I'm pretty far behind. Like, a lot of people have finished up the 50,000 words, but do bear in mind that I'm writing multiple stories, right? I still have my ongoing stories on the Inner Sanctum, and I easily write way more than this on there. I mean, my average post over there is 1,000 to 2,000, sometimes even 3,000 words per post, and that can happen multiple times in a day. So it's way more than this. And that story is pretty interesting. All right. Let's do the next thing. Let's jump into jeez. Don't smoke. Let's jump into Inner Sanctum and create an account and get that all set up, right? So we'll come over here and you'll start on a screen something like this, right? And it's got a lot of hidden categories and stuff that you're unable to see at this time. And you want to create an account. You're seeing the links on my, you can find the links on my Twitch About Me channel, or you can find them on my website or anywhere else. Just have at it. There's links all over the place. So we can log in, which is how I would normally do it, or we can register. We're going to register a new account, right? And let's name the account Delete Me. And the email will do, if I can type, right? Let's do Uh, something like that. Birthday, we'll just do January, I don't know, 30th, and we'll do 79. And we'll do the he, she. All right. Then you click the I'm not about a robot and agree, register. No, don't save it. Okay. So we have the account created, and now we're here on the site, right? So the first thing that you do when you're overwhelmed with all this stuff, well, I guess it's not that overwhelming. I mean, you just registered for a site, right? Is let's come up to this tab right here, right? And we will hold on. I'll figure this out eventually. Okay, so we'll come up to this tab right here. We'll click this and we'll see what this message is. This is where you get your private messages. You've got your your basic introduction here. It's telling you to make sure you read the rules. We did that. If you missed the rules, you can check it out in our second part and go through those. The next thing that we have here is you can look through the forums to have them explain to you, which is much better than what I'm going to do today, right? It's got way more information, way more helpful. If you want to change your themes, we'll go over that. You can also follow them, pop-up request, and if you like the site, cast a vote because they're on multiple sites and so forth, right? So what should you consider doing before anything else? In my opinion, the first thing you should do is check out your profile, right? Before you start posting who you are or anything else, check out your profile. So let's do that. Let's go to our profile, which is by clicking on your name and then go to account details. Now you can go to signature, preferences, and all this other stuff, but we're going to go to account details. It kind of holds all our information in there all at once, right? So as you scroll down, you've got a couple of things here. You can receive emails, you can receive summary emails, and you can receive emails about your badge rewards, right? If you don't want to get emails from this from this, then this is how you disable it. The next thing you have is your avatar. You can totally change it. You just click it, you choose a file, and you can change it, right? So I suppose it does have to actually be a photo though. But yeah, you get the idea. You just click it and you can change your photo and it will change there. Next is your banner, right? Now your banner can be do they actually list the preference size? They do some resizing, but there is a size preference. But basically you find a banner that you want, right? And then you click it and upload it and your banner is there, right? The next thing is, and I believe, let's see if that can be just any old photo. Let's check if it auto sizes it for you. Right, it does. So you can kind of pull it down. Yeah, it totally resizes it for you from the looks of it, right? So yeah, that's kind of cool, right? It resizes it for you. It does its own thing. Let's do this one. That works, right? All right. So then you have your custom title. Now underneath your name on the forums, they auto assign you kind of a temporary title based on how long you've been on the site, your writing and stuff like that. It's temporary, it's auto. You can change it here. So in this, we're just going to put fake account, right? Let's do that. Now, whenever somebody sees our account, underneath the avatar, it's going to say fake account. for example, on my regular account, underneath there, instead of showing a title, it says, writing and coffee, or coffee and writing. All right. So then we come down, you've got, do you want to show your date of birth to other people or anything like that? No, let's not show our date of birth. It's not my date of birth, by the way, but we don't want to show it, right? Then you've got your location. Again, this is customized. They're not asking you to share your location with everybody. You can write kind of whatever you want within reason in this section, right? So in this, we're going to write from the depths. Let's do from the depths of the void. All right. And that's where, if anybody sees where we're from, that's where it's going to say we're from, right? For our website, let's do Redfren at live. You can put whatever website you like in there. Try not to share your socials though, right? And then we'll go, what is your gender, right? Again, you don't have to choose this. You can choose whatever you want. We're going to say we're male, right? What's your occupation? Streamer, writer. And then you can put a little about you, right? And we'll just do, this is not a real account. Thank you. Thank you for your understanding. All right. And then you have your Twitter, which you can put in there, right? And that's it, right? Then you save, but you're still not quite done, right? Because you have all kinds of other stuff that you can do. So we have our password and our security, which is where you can change your password, you can confirm your password, and so forth. We have privacies, right? Now here, you can show all kinds of different information about yourself under privacy, right? Show your online status, show what you're looking at on your online status. So let's say somebody does want to know what you're up to, right? They scroll over your name and it pops up a little info panel, and on that info panel, it's going to say what you're doing. Delete me is looking at profile. Delete me is doing this. Delete me is online. You can turn these both off, or you can just say, I don't want people to know where I'm looking, right? Or I don't want people to know that I'm even online. So you can click both of these and decide that. To me, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Again, you have your show your birthday or year. You don't have to. How old you are, show what year you were born, stuff like that. The next is, do you want to receive emails and so forth? We kind of already went through that, right? And then down here, you want allow users to view the details of your profile page, right? And you can change this to anyone can see you. Only people who you are following can see you. Nobody can see your profile page, right? And the next one is post messages to your profile page, right? So they can actually post something, how you doing, or whatever, in response to something that you may have posted. And it goes down to receive your news feeds, which is basically viewing what you're doing. Then they've got start conversations with you, and that's private. That's the private PMs. We'll go over that in a minute. And then view identities and what tracks you might be listening to, right? So let's go over preferences. Same thing here. You can change the entire display of Inner Sanctum, right? For example, I used to use the books all the time. Absolutely love this one. It got a little hard for me, so I started using leather. And then you can change your time zone. This is actually really helpful. It lets you know how long people, maybe the last time they posted, or when somebody replied to something in your time zone, rather than just a random, time zone. So the next thing is, again, you've got all these options here for content that you're going to receive, and it's kind of an overall preference. And then down here, you have your alerts, right? Here's the push to notifications. This is a really cool feature. Basically, if you're doing something, it'll notify you on your computer or on your phone or whatever that somebody's replied to you or something's changed on something you're watching and so forth. So it's really helpful. I don't use them myself, but that's because I stream, so I don't have pop-ups slamming me in the face all the time. All right. You have your alerts, right? And that's pretty much exactly what they are. And then down here, you have notifications when someone. So when do you want, this is your notification bell. It shows alerts. And in this little section here, it will show an entire list of all kinds of things that can happen, right? So, you know, are you watching a forum? Are you watching a story? And if that person, if you're watching a story, you're reading it like a book, and they post something, then it will tell you somebody has posted on this story that you're watching. And then you've got your quotes, right? And that's pretty much somebody quoted your message, somebody mentions you, and so on. That's how these work, right? So if you don't want to be notified, this is where you can change all of that. Okay? So let's save it, and you'll see the background here change. Right? And they have all kinds of different skins for each type. I like leather, but they have all kinds, right? Next is your editor background or playground. And this is kind of a new thing that they've kind of made. And this is one of those things, like, think of it like a notebook, but you can also do BB code here and stuff like that. It's very cool. And you should make use of it. If you like it, you should do it. This is your signature. So when you write something, underneath what you've written is going to be a small section, a signature. Make sure you're not using GIFs. Make sure you're not using images and stuff like that. This isn't plaster your photo here, because remember, it's not that they're trying to restrict you from doing that. That's not the problem. It's that they are trying to keep an open mind to, a lot of people may not have your internet connection, or they might be on a phone, and what you're doing is slowing them down a lot. Every time they scroll past one of your images, their phone or their smaller tablet or whatever they're looking at has to load that image. So put that kind of stuff under a spoiler, and we'll go over spoilers and stuff in just a minute. But that's kind of how that works. So in here, we'll just put, again, something that everybody can see. And you can do all kinds of stuff. You can link to your request page. You can link to other pages or stories that you may have written, or you can just write kind of what stories you're currently taking place. That's kind of a common thing is, these are the stories I'm currently doing. This is my request thread kind of thing. But for us, we'll just write, this is a fake account, right? And now underneath of our name, it's going to say that every time. So we'll save that, right? Then you have connected accounts, right? And this is where you can kind of associate yourself with different things. So you can associate yourself with Google so that Google is connected to your account. You can do it with Spotify. You can do it with Microsoft. I don't know why we can do it with Microsoft, but you can. I don't do it, but I do use this association with Spotify, and that's kind of neat, because if I'm listening to music while I'm writing, it will show up under my name so that people can see it if I allowed it to, which you saw earlier where you can change. So it's kind of cool. The next thing that we are going to do is we're going to look at who you're following and who you're ignoring. And we'll go over these in a little bit of depth, okay? So when you're and we'll follow a couple of people. So actually, let's wait on that, right? And then you've got ignoring, and we'll explain that too. We'll go over that as well. All right, so you've got your account set up. Let's take a look at your actual profile page. This is our profile page, right? Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, Delete Me, Fake Account, right? How long have we been doing this? And then you have your About section, right? And it just kind of gives an overview of, all the stuff that we did. So this is a quick view of everything. And this is under your profile. You can get to this page by just clicking on the delete me and into your name, and it will bring you right to this, okay? So the next thing is you have everybody's account's the same if they've allowed you to view it, right? You have posting. So anytime that person posts, it will show what their posts are. Latest activity. This shows what they're liking, what they're disliking, their post, whatever they're really doing. And again, it kind of falls down, did you allow them to see it? And this is your profile post. Now, a profile post is not the same as a post. This is a small section of the forums directly linked to your profile. And there is a spot on the forums that will show what's here. It's very limited in the number that you can post, and it's just kind of like a brief update about what's going on with you or whatever you feel like sharing. You can get some ideas from other people that are posting in this section as well. We're not going to do any posts, and the reason we're not doing this is because I don't want I don't want a bunch of fake posts flying all over the forums. But basically, if we were to do it, right, what we would type is something like, this is a test, right? And then you would hit post. And over on the right side of the screen, there is a section where people can quick glance what you've written. And that's why we're not posting here. But that's as easy as it is, right? And then other people will see that, they can click on it, and they can come and reply to you. The word count here is very limited. So don't go crazy and start posting novels or anything. It's not going to work, right? All right. So I think we've kind of got a full handle on how to get your profile set up, right? So now that we've got that done, let's go back to home. And here you have a couple of different buttons that we can go over, and we might go over that another time. This is more about the creation of accounts. So we're not going to go over all these buttons and stuff like that just now. We're just going to show some of the stuff that you should be doing when you create your own account. So this button right here will take you back to the home page. So let's go there, right? So now we're back here, and we're at the home page, right? And you can see over here, it looks like they've added an account progression, you know, getting your account set up, right? And so they want us to set up an avatar, they want us to verify our email address, and they want us to post into a thread. Those are the things we're missing. We could set up an avatar. We already showed you how to do that. Verifying the email, I don't think we have an email. We do have some junk mail here, though, but I don't think it's shown up yet, right? We registered here, so I don't think it's here yet. No, it's not. So that would be how you go to your email. You'll see an email from them asking you to verify. You click it, it verifies. It's really that easy. And then post onto a thread. So where should you be posting? Well, you're new, so you can go down to you can read all these, review them, right? If that's what you want to do. But where you want to start posting is probably right here, where it says who goes there, state your name. This is kind of an introduction thread to everybody, right? Now, there's a couple of different ways you can go about this, but let's do the simplest and easiest way to kind of post something yourself. We're not going to post, but we'll show you all the steps necessary for that, right? So you just hit up here in this corner, you'll see post a thread. And then you need to title your thread. Don't use tags here, just use your title, right? So we'll say saying hello, right? And then here you kind of have a, what do you want to say in the thread? You put something like, I'm not new, and this is a fake account. And then you also have polls. I haven't seen this before, so that's kind of neat. You can add some poll questions and stuff like that. That's pretty neat. And then over here, you can attach some files. Now, remember, let's go over that real quick. Let's talk about adding a photo to a post and how it should be done, right? So there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can insert the image directly, right? And you can just click and select it this way. right? There's another way you can do it as well, which is to just open up wherever your file is, right? Let's see, it's I don't know. We'll shit. Do we have a background? We'll do this one, right? So you could just drag and drop it in here. And then once it's in here, you can just drag the sides and resize it to whatever you want, right? You can also, now that you have that, anybody that clicks on this is going to see it. You can't do it like that, right? This needs to be under a spoiler. We've already talked about why. You're slowing people's phones down. You're slowing stuff down, especially if you're adding videos and other stuff. So what you do is you highlight it, okay? Click on these three buttons over on this side, and you're going to see a couple of different spoilers. There's an inlay spoiler and there's a regular spoiler, okay? I use regular spoilers. Some people use inlay. What inlay looks like is it just kind of blurs the image so that it doesn't load, right? And what my spoiler version looks like is like, you know, you enter in the name that you want, hit continue, and now it's under a spoiler, okay? And if we previewed this post, this would show up in a spoiler. You can also do thumbnails, which is kind of cool. And that's where once you have the image here, you can actually delete the image again, right? And then down here, you can put insert, and then you can just hit thumbnail, right? Now, the thumbnails have recently changed. They used to be quite small, so I don't think they were a problem when it came to not using a spoiler, because they were quite small, right? But now they are quite large, and that is different. So unless you're making your thumbnail small, you know, put it under a spoiler. Even if you don't want to type in a title and all that stuff, just put an inlay over it. That way they have to actually click the image to see the image, right? They know something's there, but they actually have to click it to see it. Otherwise it's not loading, which is super helpful. All right, now you have trademark index, initial trademark. It's pretty self-explanatory, so we're not going to go over this too much, but pretty much if you have a trademark, or you have a, you know, I don't know, you know, this is kind of where you would put it, and it's going to show up on the forums as well. Then lastly, you have your tags. Like any other site, tags work as tags. So if I typed in fake, comma, right? Not real, comma, right? You can go through and kind of give a pre number of tags that are searchable or quickly accessed at the top, so that people can know what kind of story they're about to get involved in, right? So if it's up here and it's like 18 plus, not safe for work, profanity, violence, you know, blah, 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 they already know, this is what they're about to get into. And if they don't want to see that, they're going to leave. So use tags. It also makes it very easy to find. All right. And then lastly, down here at the bottom, you have watch your thread and receive emails about your thread. There's another area you can do this. And then finally, you hit post, and voila, you've created a post that everybody can see, read, and review. So that kind of encompasses what I wanted to show with this. So over here, you can kind of see that we haven't finished our progress over here. We've got what staff members are online. If you find yourself confused, definitely click on them. Let's talk about how to do that real quick, right? We're gonna we'll use Ipsy here real fast. Let's click on her, right? And she is the sheriff on the forums, or a moderator, right? And you can do a couple of different things, right? Here you can say follow, right? And if you click it, now when you're on the home page, it will show you if that person is online or if they're not online, right? The next thing that we'll do is we can actually just start a conversation with them. And this is going to bring up our private PMs, right? And up here, it shows who the recipient is. You can add more, right? So we could add like Redfren. And now it's going to send this message is going to go to Ipsy and Redfren, right? You title it just like a regular thread, right? And then this is not real. And down here at the bottom, you have start the conversation. This is going to bring up a PM private conversation, but it basically looks just like a forum post, except it's private. Nobody can see it. It's in your PMs. The staff can monitor these if necessary, but you really shouldn't think that the staff is doing nothing with their time except reading your PMs. There's hundreds of people on the forums. They've got better things to do, trust me. The reason they have access to read your PMs is because if you said something inappropriate to another user, let's say that you decided, hey, I think your profile's cute, I really want to do this, I really want to do this, and you just turned into some major creeper, that person doesn't have to screenshot their profile page. They can simply contact the staff and say, dude, this guy's a creeper, right? So that's how that works. Start the conversation, it allows others. Allow anyone to invite other people into the conversation, will allow that person to be able to invite additional people into the conversation after it's started. It has nothing to do with them. Lock the conversation means you're sending a message, but they cannot respond to you. All right, so that takes care of that. Let's talk about blocking someone, right? It's not going to work, but we're still going to show you the process. Who we're going to block? We're going to block an admin. Now, these guys, when you write, okay, and you have a question, don't do what I did, right? When I started, I was so terrified of the staff, and there's just no reason to be. They're just people. They're just people. The colors, okay, are not an indication of you should be contacting Peachy or you should be contacting Ipsy, not James, because he's purple. It's not like that, right? These are clear indications that each of these people have different responsibilities on the forums, and you can kind of direct yourself to that person if that's what you need. But if you have a problem, don't hesitate to contact somebody because their color is different, or they're an admin versus a moderator, or a herald versus a mod, right? Don't think like that. These colors are just to distinguish that these people have different responsibilities on the forums, and that's kind of the bottom line of what that color means, you know. So yeah, let's go down here, and for oh, is it not going to let us do that? Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to let us do that to James. That's too bad. That would have been funny. Okay, so we'll pick up somebody random, I guess. It doesn't matter. They don't get notified. So I don't know who Polaris is. They're probably a very cool writer. Let's say that somebody has been hounding us, and we don't want to deal with them anymore. We don't want to see what they're writing. We don't want them to see what, you know, we're doing. We just don't want we don't want them to be able to contact us anymore. But the problem isn't severe enough to contact a mod. You don't want them kicked off. You just don't want to deal with them anymore. So what you would do is you would come over here and you would hit ignore, right? And they're gone. Now it shows that they're still here, but if we refresh this, they're gone, right? It's just that simple. Did they get a notification saying that they've been blocked? No, they didn't. All they know is that they can no longer see what we're posting. We can't see them. It's just kind of a ignore button, right? Is it a block? It is not. They can't contact you. You can't contact them. But it's not a blocking kind of situation, right? If you really have a problem where the person is harassing you or trying to contact you, or you feel that this could escalate to something else, contact a staff member that's online and let them know, and they can review it. It's usually kept it's kept very private. They're not going to start touting off your information, you know, or coming down into chat and saying that so and so is having an issue. And while we're at that, since we've gone through all this, let's scroll down. You can see the latest post here. Over here, you can see those profile posts that I told you about, right? And then down here, you have your chat room. Chat room is just a quick back and forth interaction. Do not write your stories here, okay? This is just saying hello, kind of like a place to relax and do things. This is a lot easier to use, and you just kind of we'll do a post in this area. You just write whatever you want and then just hit enter, and it shows up, right? And that's all there is to it. Now, if you wanted to find out who these people were, you can highlight over their name, you can follow them, or you can come over here if you have something, maybe you want to quote somebody, right? You can come over here, you hit quote, and it brings up their quote real quick, and then you can just respond to, that's cool, it worked, and enter. And then it shows that you are quoting such and such, and it's done. So that's kind of all I really wanted to go over in this how-to sort of setup. And in the next special one, we'll go over some other stuff, but we don't need a temporary account to do that. This account was more like, let's just show you how it's done. So if you're interested, let's log out. If you're interested, you can find out this information and more on on their site, which is innersanctum.com, or you can find the link on my Twitch or my profiles, and you'll see the link there, and you can click it. It'll bring you to the site. You're welcome to join, have some fun. It's very, very cool. Now that we've got all that done, and we're moving to the next thing, right? Let's come up here and let's do the last state of our business, which is a live interview with SashaMayrin. This is going to be cool. All right, so let me bring this up. I found all kinds of I have all kinds of questions to ask Sasha, so this is going to be really cool. Let's contact them.
Hello.
Hi, Sasha.
Hi.
All right, so welcome to the interview. Let me double check, make sure you're coming through on the sound real quick. Hold on, just a sec, okay?
Okie dokie.
All right, let's whoops. There we go. All right, so this little avatar is Sasha. And we have some questions for you. Are you ready to answer some questions and be interviewed?
Sure. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. So if you guys have any questions yourselves, feel free to type in the chat. I can see it from all the platforms, and I'll make sure to ask them. This is gonna be fun. All right, Sasha. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Introduce yourself to the viewers and those that might be watching this video or later in the video. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I usually go by Sasha. That's not my real name, but at this point I've kind of adopted it as my real name, so I'm Sasha. I am an artist since I could remember, a writer since I could also remember. I've started several books, never finished them because that's how that goes. Tons and tons of art, half of that also unfinished because that's how that goes as well. And I also do a lot of work with families and children. Just got my kitchen done, so it's been a very busy time on my end. But otherwise, I play video games a lot too, and got my cat who might meow. I apologize ahead of time for that if she does.
No worries. So, how long have you been? How long have you been writing?
Probably since 2000 and maybe 2003.
Since 2003, and that's always been on interactive co-writing forums, or have you attempted to write a full book and novel and so forth?
So that would be like with other people. Probably closer to 1999 would be me writing my own stuff.
Very cool. When you kind of start to go through the process of creating a custom character or protagonist character, do you ever base those kind of characters off your friends or people you know, or do you get a, how does that whole creation process work for you?
I guess it kind of depends on which character. I have a lot of them. The two I use predominantly are Amelia and Ophelia. I guess there's also one named Crystal, and I use her a lot. The four main characters that started everything were based off of different aspects of my personality, and so I molded each of them around specific personality traits, whereas someone like Amelia was created for a specific group, and Ophelia was also made for a specific group, so I kind of tailor them to what needs could be filled within certain situations.
And I have to ask, do you do any kind of actual role play, like tabletop?
So I did play a lot of D&D during the pandemic. The group I was with, I didn't mesh super well with because I'm very creative and I liked a lot of the more creative parts. But recently I just did get back into D&D with another group of people, and it's so much fun.
Very cool. And when you're writing with a co-author versus when you're sitting at a table, would you say that the two are comparable, or is there just a huge difference there?
Probably different because I'm not in my own head as much. If I'm writing with somebody else, if I'm by myself, there's just papers, there's story arcs, diagrams, there's things that I'm following, like did I hit this point, did I hit that point, like is this character here, how do I get them from A to B? But if I'm writing with somebody else, I'm like, I'll let it flow more and critique myself less, really.
Very cool. And what would you say the most difficult part of writing a story could be?
I think either the initial post, if it's not my idea, because that's always really hard, getting like, oh, we work together, oh, this is what we're gonna do, and they're like, you post first. I'm like, dang it. Okay. Or like if I don't know where I want to take it and kind of getting a scene planned out from where I want it to go and having multiple backup plans, that could take time.
Yeah, I think for me, the most difficult part of writing a story, even if it's co-written or if I'm writing alone, would definitely be the follow-through. Like the concept, if you have a concept and you sit down to write, you have at least, 10,000 words that you're ready to just throw down. I mean, you're good to go. But when you actually start to expand the story and drag it out, to me, that's always been the hardest part. Like, what the heck is this person doing? What are you supposed to write about when they're not actually doing this or this or this? Like, do you just write about their normal life? Do you fill it with fluff? So that's always been the most difficult part for me, is kind of, stretching it out in between the dead spots.
Yeah, filler and fluff.
Filler and fluff. What do you think are some good elements that all stories should really encompass?
Oh, I guess right now I'm blanking on that stupid character arc. I learned from when I made Ophelia that you need positive, negative, and neutral traits. Otherwise, people will not like your character because there's either nothing likable about them or there's nothing negative enough that they're going to hate them for. So they have to have something they're always working towards, something that they're fighting against, something that keeps them balanced. Which is why all of my characters, most of them all have character sheets with all those pieces to it. Keeping that straight is like, would this person actually do this? Maybe, probably not. I don't know. Would they let this all on fire? No, but this person would, so I'll make them light everything on fire.
for me, I think the biggest elements that I try to encompass into a story is just kind of progression, right? Is the darkness or the trauma. I try to make it as realistic as possible. Even if I'm writing about fantasy or magic or something, I still need something that the reader can relate to. And if the reader can't relate to what's happening, then they're not going to enjoy the story at all, right? So if your story is so fantastical that they're just unable to relate to what's happening, then they can't get invested in the story. And I think this kind of applies to everything, right? This applies to movies, this applies to shows, this applies to anime, this applies to books, this kind of applies to everything. If you can't relate to what you're doing, like even an anime that I'm not a fan of, Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, had this completely fantastical story that you just could not relate to because it's so unbelievably unrealistic, yet you could relate to the characters because the characters had personal drama, they had realistic problems, they had issues that just kind of drove home, that this is still a person that is struggling, even though they have all these fantastical powers. So that realism, that relatism, is kind of what I've always felt is my strongest element that I try to put into a story.
Yeah, they also are very gifted in their ability to stretch battles for like 10 episodes and keep people invested. I'm like, wow, you guys are very talented.
Yeah, and then you get the 15-minute rewinds, right? Where it's like this dude's punching somebody for like 10 minutes. And then, you go to the next episode and they've got the same 10 minutes of that guy getting ready to punch him. And you're just like, come on, man.
I need to know what happens. Like, I'll know next time.
Let's do the next question I have here is, what comes first for you? The plot of your story or your character? And why would that be your first priority?
Ooh, that's hard. I'm trying to think back. Like, I had these characters for so long. Usually the plot, and then I have a huge, massive file folder of characters that I have. Like, sometimes I make new ones. Not always. And then I'll go in there like, okay, who would fit in here? And if nobody fits, then I make someone new. But otherwise, story first, then my amalgamation of characters.
And why do you think that the story needs to come before the character?
Because I don't want to like make or shoehorn a specific character into a specific story if they're not gonna go there first. So it's like if I try to show, let's see, I'm just gonna pick a random person. Here we go. Okay. So like one of my first characters I ever made, her name was Glimmer, and I tried to shoehorn her in to a story that was her own. And it just didn't work because it wasn't about her, it ended up being about something else. So instead, it's like, okay, well, I have this plot, I have this story, who would be a better protagonist? And in that case, it was a girl named Starina. She was better able to lead the story. So poor Glimmer got kicked.
And I kind of agree with you. I tend to make custom characters every time, but I don't have a huge history of writing protagonists and stuff like that. So I tend to make custom characters per story. But I agree that the plot kind of needs to come first so that you can decide what kind of character is going to slip into it. For example, if I was writing a pirate story, and which a book is being released, a pirate book, self-plug. So definitely check that out when it comes out. But if I'm writing a pirate story and I stick Goku in there, it's not going to make any damn sense. So I agree that the plot kind of needs to come first, right?
Yeah. Or Goku on a ship. I don't know how that would go.
Not well.
No.
When you're starting a story and you're dealing with a plot, how deep do you think about that plot before you start writing about it?
Too much. Way too much. Yeah, specific stories, if I'm more into them, then I will start creating outlines of things. Like one story, it's since ended. I created maps, I created laws, I created wedding, like a wedding registry. I went very familial trees,
Wow.
sketches of locations and different things, and then of course that ended. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Um, so I got very invested with that one. I don't know if I've created a world as big as that one since then, but some have gotten close.
Who are some of your favorite authors when you're just kind of chilling and you want to read something? Who are some of your favorite authors?
Asking me the hard questions when I don't have my library up here. This is James Rowland. Is that his name? The yeah, this is where you caught me off guard. Rowland. He's the guy that wrote the Judas something, the God Eye, stuff like that. Why am I forgetting his name? That's gonna drive me. I do read a lot of Stephen King, which I mean is generic, but I do read a lot of him. Swear to God, his name is James Rollins, but he wrote a lot of stories that were mystery and disproving certain biblical things, proving others, and kind of like the Da Vinci Code type stuff.
How about on the forums? Do you have a favorite author you tend to read on the forum, aside from those that you co-write with?
No, I guess that part of me is how deeply I ingrain certain laws that I personally follow in my job. So I don't search things out that are not my own, but I feel like that's probably just because of my job.
I know that on the other side of that spectrum, I have quite a few authors that I enjoy reading, but more importantly, on the forums, there are quite a few favorite authors that I enjoy reading. Now, I don't like all their posts anymore because I don't want to spam them or make them uncomfortable, but there are some fantastic authors, and the stuff they write is just mind-blowing, and there's nothing better than sitting down and reading how their imagination works and how they can come up with these fantastic viewpoints. And I definitely, I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I will definitely read your story at some point. I spend a lot of time reading. The forums to me are like a big giant library of unfinished books, and I really enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, it is really good.
What do you think is the most fun about your current story that you're writing in? One of your current stories. Doesn't have to be the one that we're co-writing, but just a story that you're currently invested in. What do you think is the most fun about that story?
Oh, God, I don't know. The possibility for growth. I'm like a sucker for character growth, and I really like when things get corny because it's just so stinking cute, and I love it. So occasionally, like, there will be like corny aspects in stories, and I'm just sitting here like, aw, everything's like on fire, but you two are cute, yay! So that always gets me, especially even if I like glance at somebody else's stuff, even though I'm like trying not to. It's like, aw, they're all happy. Okay, yep, okay, he died. That's sad, but you're happy. So I do like that, and like I guess working with the other people to make because that one world I made all by myself. That was frustrating. But like working with the other people to make the world bigger and bigger and bigger. Like in one of the other stories, like we've created an entire city of arcane magic. And I'm still like baffled by how it all works, but he understands how it works. I don't. I'm like, okay, there's a thing and magic. All right, great.
Sounds cool. Are you planning an ending or a sequel to any of your current stories? Like, do you plan out the end of your story, like this is going to happen and the story is going to end, and do you plan out a sequel after that story, or do you just kind of not do that?
I guess both. So one story, I know how I want it to end. The other person does not, and I will never tell them. Another one, I have an idea for how it can continue. Now, I mean, of course, that's up to the co-author, because I can't be like, and we're continuing this, you have no say. But I guess it goes both ways. I'd like to keep writing. So if I can continue, like, oh, this is book 2, I would do that. But the other one, I'm like, no, you end here, and this is how I think you should end, and I'm trying to get there.
I've played and written with both styles. I've played with I've written some stories with co-authors that have no objective in the story, and they're just kind of inserting their protagonist into the story and just kind of seeing where it falls, and they don't really consider the future of that story much at all. And then on the other spectrum, I've also played with co-authors that have a very direct and very clear-cut this story needs to end at this time, and this is how I would like to see the story come to a close. So I can say that both are effective and both work pretty well. One, you kind of have a goal, and the other one, you're just kind of free-flowing until you can see an end in sight. So I found both pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're right. It kind of depends on A, who you're writing with, B, the nature of the story, and C, some books just don't need sequels. Like, they're perfect the way they are.
For sure. Have you ever done a sequel to a story that you've written before?
Yes. Well, with people, no. On my own, yes. It follows that that core group of characters that I made back, like in college. And it follows all their children repairing all the damage that their parents caused for the years before that. So, like, Big Bad shows up for the parents, and now, okay, everything's gone to awful times, and now all of them have to fix what was destroyed. So that's really, I think, the only sequel that I've ever made.
I've talked about sequels, but I've never actually written one. But I've definitely had lots of conversations about future stories involving offspring or involving siblings and stuff like that. But I've never actually done a sequel before, leading up to a new story. So it'll be interesting to see if that ever happens.
Yeah, especially the people like the Instagram that I own for that secondary group of characters. Like, a lot of the people that follow that account came from the original 4 group, and they're like, well, we want to see what happens. Well, it's like, one day I will write it. Right now you just get art. That's what you get.
How much research do you put into writing a story?
I guess it depends on the type of story. So, like, when I made that whole, like, planet, world, whatever you want to call that, with the laws and the whatever, that took a lot of time because I had to research, like, geographical maps and, like, what would you be able to find here? Would this be realistic? Can I split things up? What are laws like? So on and so forth. Different, like, if it's more realistic, like, okay, what is around during that time period? What is believable? What is not believable? What do they have access to? Stuff like that.
I do a ton of research all the time.
No,
like,
never.
I'm obsessed with it. Like, if there's something that I can research, I definitely want to. I love research. I do tons and tons of research in our current co-written story. Near the beginning, we were dealing with college, and I just did so much research. My brain was on fire trying to deal with all these colleges and all these dorm life and you know, all of it, just learning all these phrases and all this behavior and how parties go and all this stuff, because I didn't do any of that when I was in school. So it was all new to me and fresh, and it just bombarded me. And the same thing with my pirate story, is just so much research. How was this done and what involves in it? So I'm a huge research buff.
Yeah, it can definitely get overwhelming at times. 100%.
What would you say the most important aspect of writing a story? Well, let me rephrase that. What would you say the most important aspect of writing in general is?
God, this is like I feel like they asked me this in college. What did the professor say? He said something on the lines of, like, to find purpose and meaning through what you want to write, not to just write to write. So he always taught us about finding what piece of the story can you hide, what pieces can you leave out for the reader to find, and make every word worthwhile is like kind of what I remember from reading all the, like, being in that classroom and working on stuff in the literary domain. But I usually like to have every character has a goal or something they fight to overcome, whether that be physical, mental, emotional, something that's going to challenge them and make them better for it. Or worse. Sometimes it's worse.
Right. What do you think is the hardest type of scene to write, and why do you feel that way?
Action, because I talk too much. I'm like, and you will stab him, and then it's like 500 words later, it's like he hasn't even been stabbed yet. I'm like, yeah, that was, I think, the biggest thing that all of my editors stuff would talk about. It's like, okay, so your character's walking up to their front door and they drop their keys. We've been here for 2 pages and she still hasn't picked up her keys. Like, this is supposed to be like shock and scary and like all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you should be scared. She's like, not for 2 pages, I'm not. I'm like, fair.
For me, I think that the hardest scenes to write would definitely be action and a erotica scene. And I treat them kind of the exact same way, right? I don't use a lot of profane language or anything like that. I kind of use flowery text, and so I'm not invested in the scene as a writer where I visualize what's happening. Instead, I kind of pull myself out and I think, how can I say this to make more sense? And there's so much going on, like in an action scene, you know, how's your body moving? What's around you? What's happening to the other person? How are you swinging? What did that swing do? There's just so many things to take into consideration that when you're writing this, it just kind of can get very overwhelming. And I would say that is definitely the hardest thing for me to write. And like I said, I put erotica right there on the same thing because it's the same concept. There's so much going on, and there's so much that you have to acknowledge that to make it sound believable and understandable, you have to invest a lot of information and still make it sound good enough to read without overwhelming the reader. But if you don't give enough information, then they're bored, you know?
Yeah.
What characters, if any, in your stories would you think is the most similar to you as an author?
Oh no. That's hard. Oh god, okay. It's actually really hard. Flip. I guess like personality traits? You mean like that?
However you want to interpret it.
Oh. Probably Amelia, because I am awkward as all get out. And she's awkward and adorable. And I guess I've put a lot of effort into her, and she acts a lot of times as shy as I do out in the world, because I'm nice and I always see the goodness in everybody, and that often bites me in the butt, just like it does her. Like, oh, I'll help you, as it tries to like murder her. It's like, no, I'm still gonna try to help.
If you could meet your character face to face, what do you think you would say to them?
Oh god. Okay. If it's our version of Amelia, I'd probably tell her, like, stop trusting everybody, stop talking to everybody, like, assess your surroundings. If it was D&D Amelia, I would tell her, stop lighting things on fire. She does that when she's nervous. And it's okay to ask other people for help, because she never asks anybody for help, and that ends up kind of causing her a lot of problems, because she's like, oh, I can handle it, I don't want to be a burden on anybody, I can figure it out. And then she gets stuck in, like, I think she got stuck in a room full of like rats, and they were eating her alive, and she's like, nope, everything's fine, it's okay, I'm fine. Being okay.
I think if we were talking about if I could meet my character in our co-written story face to face, what would I say to him? I wouldn't say anything. I'd probably punch them. And then would I get along with them? Absolutely not. There's I separate myself from my characters massively. Like there's almost nothing in common with the two of us, and like my characters are bad. They're just not good people. So I don't think I would get along with my characters at all, and I would probably end up in a fist fight with them, no question.
Oh, but he's so sweet sometimes.
It doesn't excuse his behavior at all.
Oh, he's so cute.
Is there anything you would ever feel you need? Is there anything in your space, your writing space, that you feel you need to have before you start writing? For me, that's coffee and cigarettes, right? If I don't have those things, I can't write. So I always make sure I have a fresh cup of coffee and some smokes available so that I can sit down and really concentrate. What would you say your writing space is a must?
Typically, it's some type of heated beverage, whether that's like chai tea or coffee or something hot. I take 9 million years to drink it, which is frustrating, but I do have a little like heater on my desk, so it elongates my really long drinking time, but I can't, when I try to write without it, it just comes out flat. Occasionally, I used to be really, really into music, so I'd have to have something up. Then I just get distracted by that. 45 minutes later, I'm still looking for a song. But typically, it's mostly just my hot beverage of choice, and I have to be around at least something that is creative.
Have you ever traveled or done real life research away from your computer when you've written a story in order to better understand it?
I guess not traveled, but like I would do in college when I was writing one of my first drafts for the novel. It was really into nature, so I would sit out on the college green and just focus on how the leaves were moving, what the trees look like, what would people do around certain aspects of nature. So I used that, but I wish I could travel to write. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. I guess I do a little bit, but I more take the experiences that are around me and kind of encompass those instead of the other way around. Like instead of traveling, I would take, well, I went out to this place, this is kind of what it was like, and I can encompass that into my story.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because college is familiar. I that was like many years of my life. What, 5-6 years of my life? So it's like, oh, that's familiar. Whereas other aspects less so. But I try to write things that I'm more familiar with.
Have you ever taken a risk with your protagonist and did it pay off?
Yes and no. Amelia. So Amelia makes very poor choices. He has not made a good choice yet. I keep taking risks with her. They never, well, I guess they well, that's very adorable. So I guess that paid off. But nothing else has. She just keeps digging herself deeper and deeper and deeper into these holes. And I'm like, stop taking risks. That doesn't end right for you. Like Ophelia took a risk and that didn't end well either.
Do you play music when you write? And if so, what kind of music do you tend to play?
I try, and a lot of it is like orchestral music. Because if I hear words, then I'll end up typing the words. So it could be like I have a whole YouTube playlist that is just songs that I've used in different stories and songs that elicit different emotions.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music, mood music, mostly for me, also with no lyrics, based on what I'm writing at that time. So if I'm writing an action scene, then I'll try to find some action music and I'll play that in the background to help me kind of stay focused on the scene.
Yeah, if I can't get writing, then I'm looking through here, it's like, oh my god, some of these are really old songs. But it helps, it does help.
If your story, you can take any story you like, or you can use the one that we're co-writing. If that was made into a movie, who would you want to play your protagonist?
But who would be a good Amelia? Oh God, I don't even know. Wait, I think Ophelia has a face claim, or maybe she doesn't. I don't remember. Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know who could be as awkward and as shy as she is. I don't know if that's even humanly possible to be as awkward as she is. I could. Actress's name. She was Katniss. I feel like she could maybe pull off Ophelia. Maybe if she did it the other way, like Mr. and Mrs. Banks or whatever. She was in something else. Maybe her, but you need someone who's kind of a jerk. Amelia, I don't know.
I would say for Walcott, Christopher Walken, Jack Nicholson, or Keanu Reeves, for sure. One of those guys could probably pull him off.
So adorable when he's not killing people.
What is some advice that you would give a new writer or people that want to write in more detail, kind of like you do when you're writing your stories? What is some advice that you would give that person?
See, fan of the character sheets. Some of my friends make fun of me when they do see, like, Amelia's right now is 6 pages of character documentation, and that it's a little excess, but I find it helps me to figure out who I want, like what I want her to do, and if at any point I'm like, oh, I don't know, like I'm stuck, what would she do? I can easily go back and look at all of her personality traits, her background, things that she likes, and so on and so forth, or just like being okay working with the person that you're writing with and being like, hey, I don't know what to do, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely communication is key, I think. For me, if I had any new advice to give to people joining the site or people starting to write a book like in the NaNoWriMo project and stuff like that, my advice to you would be get it on paper, get it down as fast as you can. If you have an idea, write it, and then you can go back through, edit it, correct it, but get it out of your head just as fast as you can.
Yeah, that is really helpful. That's how I got through the parts of the novel that I wrote. I'm like, just go. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, just go.
For sure. How do you come up with your character or your NPC names?
Oh, things I never think of. Ophelia, I wanted a name that was tragic enough, so I took Hamlet and how that Ophelia dies. How that tragic obsession is what led to her own downfall. Amelia, I've just always liked her name. Pendragon is from the Pendragon book series that I adored when I was a kid. Other characters, like, I guess Dark was named after a character in a video game that I liked as a kid. All of my other female characters, they typically have names that associate with, I guess, aspects of their personality or the country that they come from.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I never give that much concept to my character names. I kind of look up what I'm writing, right? Like, so if I want a dark and demonic name, then I'll just type that in, dark and demonic name, and I'll find one that looks cool and I'll use that. I don't really give much thought to my character names.
I put too much thought.
I do try to find names that make sense to me, though. I really can't stand names that have characters or stuff like that just don't make sense, so they're hard to pronounce. I can't do it. So I'm more likely to use a David or Scott or John or something like that than I would be to use, like, Estefan and stuff like that, because it's just too much to write.
Definitely, you can get, like, I have a character whose full name is Theodora, and I'm always like, that's such a long name, but you know what, we're just gonna call you Thea. Or Saoirse, like, technically, like, I had a character named Saoirse, and that is in and of itself is an annoying name to type.
Do you ever get emotional when you're writing your stories?
Not usually. I'm pretty disconnected from them. I don't think I've ever had to step away. from any story that I've written because it got to be too much or it got to me, because I usually have the necessary coping mechanisms in place to like prevent that.
Cool. Do you prefer ebooks, audiobooks, or printed books?
I do not like ebooks because it makes my head hurt. I used to listen to I listened to most of the Stephen King books, like The Stand, horrible book during a pandemic, but that was my choice of literature while driving to work. But that was good because I could visualize it in the car. Yet again, horrible choice during pandemic, but I guess I want to do the challenge starting January of reading one book a month, so that will definitely be in print because I will get distracted.
That's cool.
With an audiobook.
So the last question I have for you, and then I'll let you go, I know this has been a long interview, is do you have other writers in your life, in your family, in your circle of friends, or is this something that you've always pursued alone?
In grade school, there was one other writer. I'm assuming she's still writing. I think she's a teacher now. She was an amazing writer. My old roommate, she was the one that taught me a lot of what I know now with the character development, character arcs, stuff like that. And then one of my close friends now, he is a writing major and helps me edit a lot of my more detailed stuff. So I'll send it over to him, and since he majored in it and he has a degree in writing, tears it apart, but I do appreciate it.
Oh, that's really lucky because editors are insanely expensive, like insanely expensive. It is such a saturated and, just the market for a real editor is just scammed all over the place. It is so scammy, and so it's really cool that you have that as a resource.
Yeah, he's awesome. I appreciate I do mess with him a lot, so it's only fair. We like to fake write. Like I gave him a prompt this morning of why would you go to the baseball game dressed in a hot dog costume, and he just rolled with it. And literally maybe 1,000 words why he would have shown up to this baseball game in a hot dog costume. And it's just he's that amazing that he can run with anything. But I guess that is just the proof that he's a writer.
That's very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for doing this interview. I know it was a little different. We didn't really talk too much about the story, but I kind of wanted to let people know who you were as an author and a co-author. And if you guys are interested in checking out SashaMayrin, do go to the site, check out her stories and some of the stuff that she's written. It's an amazing thing to see unfold and take place. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
I'm glad you liked it. Take care.
Bye.
So that kind of covers everything that we had planned, and that's going to end our stream today. I'm really glad that you joined us. I hope that you continue to join us and that you had some fun. I will talk to you guys later. We will be streaming again on Monday. We'll be back to our game, Cyberpunk 2077, back to the gaming channel, and we'll be doing that again. We don't stream on Tuesdays, but we do stream the rest of the week. It's going to be a blast. I have no idea what to expect or what's coming. We also have, some merchandise. As you guys already know, I'm not a big fan of profiting here, so the margins on that merchandise have been dropped all the way down so that I'm not making money, but I just think they're cool. So if you're interested, definitely pick some of that stuff up. If you are doing the YouTube thing, do all the YouTube thingies, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. We do these streams every Sunday, and then we just do gaming the rest of the week. And then if you're interested in following us, we have social media all over the place, right? There's Twitter, there's Facebooks, there's Instagrams, there's YouTubes, there's Twitch. We're everywhere. It's very cool. We even have a TikTok. I know, it's crazy. And who would have thought that an old dude like me would be on TikTok? But we definitely have one. It's just small little highlights of stuff that might happen in the stream. I'm not doing WAP dances and stuff like that, but it's fun. So if you want to check that out, do that. Otherwise, I hope to see you on IS. Remember, you can find their link on my profiles and click that. It'll definitely take you right to the site, or you can just go to their website directly. It's Inner Sanctum, and it's definitely worth checking out. So do that if you have the time. Check them out at writersanctum.com. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and